All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul Womble, the Emergency Management Director. We wanted to give an update here from the Polk County Emergency Operations Center. We're still fully activated. The team is here, we've been here, and the core of the storm is close. We anticipate the arrival of the hurricane force winds here in Polk County in the next hour or two. It's been rainy, it's been gusty this afternoon. So the time is now to really get your family secure and be ready to ride out the worst part of the wind. Couple of things, we've got almost 3,000 people in our shelters. We've still got 20 shelters around the county. All that information the location is on our website, www.polk-county.net. And it's the shelters they don't close, but when the winds become unsafe, they will, they close the doors. We want to keep those facilities safe. Our fire rescue, law enforcement agencies from around the county, they're still responding to calls. There's been numerous calls that they've responded to. We're starting to see trees down, power lines down. The power companies are beginning to report power outages around the county, and we expect that will continue until the storm is passed. So what I really want to talk about is what over the next couple of hours until the hurricane force winds are gone. If you're sheltering at home and the winds get high, the best thing to do is go into interior hallways. Stay away from windows, stay away from glass doors. You really want to put as many walls as you can between you and the outside. Power outages, we mentioned that already. If you plan to use a portable generator, please don't hook those up to your house. If that's connected improperly, you can injure or even kill linemen, power companies, when their crews are out to repair the lines. So plug in, run the generator safely. They need to be outside. Don't run those generators inside your house because the exhaust fumes are very dangerous. So those should be used outside or in well-ventilated areas. EOC is here. We'll be here through the night and be able to respond until the response phase of this is over. And we're already starting to plan now on our recovery efforts. Again, working with all our partners from the local level. We work very well together here in Polk County. All the local governments, state agencies, our health department. So we're starting to plan for the next phase. You have any questions?
You mentioned 20 shelters, 3,000 people there. What is the capacity of those total shelters, and how does it compare to, say, 5 years ago with Hurricane Irma?
Every storm is different. So we were prepared for more shelteries. I think we had about 38,000 total shelter spaces in all those schools. 2 days ago when this started, and part of our shelter strategy was, the Tampa Bay, the Pinellas and Hillsborough counties, they were announcing their evacuation order. So, part of our shelter plan is to be able to have certainly capacity for Polk County residents and our citizens, but also to support our neighbors. So we have plenty of space in our shelters.
Let's work through the parts of Polk County that are most prone typically to flooding and what the risk currently is, starting with the big one, the Peace River Basin, which runs from Bartow to Fort Meade. What is the circumstance now, and what do you anticipate as the night progresses?
So the rain, the rainfall, we're just looking at rain gauges. Some of our rain gauges around the county, we've already had 2.5 inches of rain, depending on where that is. All the heavy rain, the flash flood potential comes along with the center of the storm. So we're very concerned about that Peace River Basin because it's been so wet already in the last few weeks. So as that rain continues to build, that flood threat will increase. And we'll just have to monitor. We've got our first responders, fire and law enforcement out, and they'll respond as long as they can until it's, conditions just totally make it unsafe for them to come off the road.
Historically, another problem spot has been northwest Lakeland in the vicinity of Walker Road.
Correct.
What are you seeing there, and what do you anticipate, and what do you advise for folks who live in that part of the county?
Well, again, that's another area that has historically flooded. We actually checked with a couple of people that we know in that area this morning. They have not had as much rain as the Bartow and Winter Haven area have had in the last few weeks. So that's a good thing. But again, if we get 10, 12, 18 inches of rain, some forecasts are calling for 2 feet, any of those areas in Polk County could flood. So they just need to, take action. It's really with the wind coming now, it's not safe to be out, and those conditions are going to deteriorate very rapidly.
How does that compare to the flood-prone parts of East Polk County? And I'm thinking east of Haines City in particular around Lake Lowry.
Lake Lowry's got a history of flooding. The north side of that lake, we've had historic flooding in our past. East of Lake Wales, there's really no part of Polk County that doesn't have some flood risk. And we messaged earlier, the National Weather Service has been messaging the flood threat, and folks in that area by now should have taken action for their safety of themselves and their families.
For those just now making the decision to leave, and you might have wished they made that decision earlier, but at what point is the point of no return in terms of the roads being traversable at this point, what you're seeing?
Well, it's really about, we've already had reports of trees and power lines down. We anticipate that will continue. Roads could be blocked. It's going to be, it'll be dark soon. So if you can't see the road and it's either blocked or there's a live power line down or a road is washed out, that's happened. That's very likely to happen. It's just not safe. So, if anybody's planning to move and try to go to a shelter, now is the absolute last time, because the hurricane force winds are just to the south. It looks like the eye wall was in DeSoto County coming in from Charlotte County. So, within the next hour or two, those hurricane force winds will be in our county. And at that point, it is not safe to be outside.
Are there any road blockages at this point that you know of?
I'm not aware of any. I know we've got push crews out with the Sheriff's Office, Polk County Fire Rescue, and our Roads and Drainage Division with heavy equipment, and they've responded to multiple calls already today. They pushed some trees, they're able to cut those trees and get the roads back open.
Based on the track of the storm, its location now, and history, what is your expectation in terms of the scale of power outages through Polk County?
Every storm is different. After Hurricane Irma in 2017, about 90% of Polk County the next day was without power. So part of our planning has been, because of the wind and the flood, and as wet as our ground is, we anticipate power outages, and they could be longer than normal because of the saturation of the ground. If a tree blows over, it's easier if the ground is wet, and that means the power lines come down with it.
A key point is every storm is different, but the frame of reference, as you know, many will have, we were here in 2004, will be Charlie, and to a certain extent, Irma as well 5 years ago. Press to the folks of Polk County the distinctions between those storms and this one, the track of them aside.
The track aside, this storm is very large in diameter. The winds are starting now, the outer bands are here. Actually, it started last night, really, the first rain from this hurricane. It's moving much slower than some of those other storms. Irma in 2017, within just a few hours, it was here and it was gone. And that is not going to be the case here. We're going to have 8, 10, 12 hours of very strong wind, very severe weather. So it's going to take longer before conditions clear. That may not happen completely and be totally safe, to be able to move around outside until Friday.
There are a lot of people who have moved here after 2017, after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, who have relocated to Osceola and to Polk counties as
right.
well. That's their frame of reference. They're seeing what's happening to Captiva right now and thinking back to what happened to the island. How does that compare to what we can expect in Polk County later tonight?
Well, again, strong winds, power outages, the flash flood risk is one of the most likely hazards. A lot of rain in a short amount of time, and then always tornadoes. We've seen tornado warnings to our south today. So as that weather moves through, all those factors, could impact our people here in Polk County.
There's a particular concern with flooding of the Peace River. Sometimes rivers flood long after a weather event passes through. Will this time be different? Will that flooding coincide with the passage of the storm?
Yeah, it may take a day or two for all the rain, to get into the water system, get in the creeks that feed into the Peace River. But it will come up. The forecast right now is about this time tomorrow afternoon, about 24 hours for that water to crest. The crest is forecast to be higher than it was. Our record flood was after Hurricane Francis in our 2004 hurricane season. And a lot of folks who are here, they weren't even here. They weren't even in Florida in 2004. So that water is going to come up in the river. It's going to come up in the creeks that are already high to begin with.
How many homes are we talking about in that area? I know there's Peace River Estates, there's a couple of other fairly sizable communities. Which ones should be most concerned, and in total, how many people are we talking about?
Yeah, we had our Geographic Information Services folks here in the EOC. They looked at the flood inundation map of just the Peace River Basin around Bartow. And in the worst case scenario, there were about 300 homes that could potentially be in that flood zone. So it's pretty significant. You know, in that case, most of those are in the city of Bartow and just outside in the county. So we've been coordinating very closely with the city of Bartow, with their fire department, their police department, our sheriff's office, Polk County Fire Rescue. So we know those are the very first areas that we'll check and continue to check.
All shelters are open and with plenty of space for those who want to get there. At some point later tonight, they could close. If they don't move immediately or get word late, how can they know in advance whether the shelters are still available to them?
Yeah, the shelters are there. It's really just a matter of, is it safe to open the doors, and potentially let weather, wind inside in the schools. Our shelters are in schools. So it's about the safety of the folks inside the building. So they, again, check the website. We'll put out information on social media. But to close, if people are planning to go to shelters, now is the time. We've got very little time left before the core of the storm gets here, and it is too windy. It will, those hurricane force winds are not safe to be outside.
Paul, what can residents expect as far as emergency response during the storm?
We respond as long as we can. Polk County, going back to our 04 hurricane season, with Polk County Fire Rescue and the Polk County Sheriff's Office, they will put paramedics in the lower profile vehicles. The ambulances and the larger buses, for example, they have to come off the road when the winds are high because that puts those crews in danger. But we will continue to respond. We'll put paramedics in with the deputies and they'll run the call. It may take longer, and if it's not a serious emergency, but going back to 04 and Hurricane Charlie, we were, I think, the first in the state to ever do that. They got people to the emergency room, heart attacks, serious medical emergencies. And, the hospital have told us, if you had not done that, those people would have probably not lived. So we will respond. Okay, thank you.